morning.
Morning. How are you?
Awesome and amazing. Happy Cinco de Mayo Day.
Okay, so I was informed yesterday that Cinco de Mayo is a American
It
holiday more than
is.
it is a Hispanic or Mexican holiday,
That
and
is correct.
uh, it's our excuse to celebrate Mexican heritage, apparently, according to Google.
Well, that is absolutely
Yeah,
correct. It is an American holiday. So,
that's crazy. All right, whatever. I will certainly celebrate. I won't ask what you're doing or drinking, but we'll leave it there. All right. How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Good. So I want to start, obviously, this call with feelings. And the feelings being first quarter was a little bit of a bust, yet it's turned out to be a pretty good thing because, not that the market stopped, Toya, but it certainly wasn't great. January and February, but March started to recover. And then April actually turned out pretty good.
Yeah,
And all the leading indicators, well, the reason I'm bringing this up is I want to look at the numbers as we're going through it. The leading indicators show that May's doing really good too, and I'm expecting June to be good. And it really just kind of pushed that spring market later into the year. And that's a good thing. I mean, it wasn't a great thing for January, February, yet if you're a real estate professional, you outside of coming to a call like this, you might get confused by the market, right? Like, man, why am I not winning, or why am I struggling, or da 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 da. Where hopefully, when you hear us talk about that, it kind of normalizes your feelings and goes, okay, the market gave me what it gave me in first quarter, but now I should be succeeding. In how am I doing compared to the market, right? Anything
absolutely.
you'd add before I jump?
No, I think we've got some great articles that actually speak to that. So I'm eager to see what the trends look like and then hit the articles.
All right. So, last thing, reminder Thursday from 1 to 3 is our big state of the industry presentation, and we go through everything. So, of course, I would encourage you to have social media content coming out of the state of the industry presentation. Toya, I think you're going to co host it with me. So, I'm excited about that. But more importantly, no, it'll be in person, Zena. Um, the presentation goes through all things real estate, and I can't encourage you enough to show up to this call, one, show up to state of the industry, and be the most informed agent in your marketplace. Any last thoughts on that, Toya, before I roll?
I would agree. I always tell people whether you love stats or not, you've got to look at the trends. You've got to stay ahead of the trends. And that's why these calls are so important. So I hope to see you all on Thursday as well.
There you go. And I think Luke will probably drop
Link.
the registration in the chat here if you're not. Okay.
Did you
So
guys do
full
Wednesday?
It's
Thursday?
Thursday, 1 to 3 Thursday.
Oh, it's Thursday.
Did I
Ooh,
say Wednesday?
no, Thursday is red day. So
I'm sorry. It's Wednesday.
it's Wednesday.
Wednesday, 1 to 3 at the Starling Hotel in Midtown. All right. Please keep me honest on this call. I appreciate that, Sparkle. All right. It's Wednesday, 1 to 3 at the Starling Hotel. Moving on. Fulton County. 1,267 new listings hit the market. That is the largest number of new listings coming online in a 7 day period all year.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big number. To some, that's exciting. To others, it's a lot of listings. And one of the things that's happening right now, Toya, is we are taking a lot of listings. But it also means some are sitting and
Yep,
inventory is growing. So we're going to
absolutely.
look at that. But I still think listings is the name of the game, always has been in real estate. But it's not just listings, it's well priced listings, well staged listings, good condition listings. It's a beauty pageant conversation, right?
And any listing can move as long as it's priced right. So we've got to
Yeah.
get pricing strategies down.
So 169 properties went under contract in the last 7 days. Highest number for Fulton County year to date. We did have 1 week at 167, but you can look 150, 130, 150, 130, 170. That tells me the market is moving. That tells me, we were back in February and we were only having 120, 104, 111 going under contract, which speaks to that first quarter. It didn't die, but it was a little bit of a bust, right? And you get back into January and there were some numbers under 100. So when we're hitting 170, there's a lot of movement going on in terms of people going under contract. Uh 287 are pending. Now, why this is a great number is because we just finished the end of the month and 284 properties in Fulton County closed out in the last 7 days. So while these are closed, there's still 287 pending going forward. And that's really encouraging. Um, Now, interesting, the same time a month ago, there were 316. So maybe it's a little off from where we were a month ago, but still great numbers. As I said, 284 closed out. But look at these two numbers right here. 149 withdrew and 233 expired. So that's almost 400 expired listings that popped in the last 7 days.
And we know,
So,
yeah, and we know that that happened just because we're coming off of the end of the month. So now we
yep,
have a surge of expires and withdrawals, which is great.
it's great if you're a prospector.
That is true.
Yeah. I want to show something real quick. So if you look at our inventory monthly, we in March, we're 4.1 months. We don't have April yet. We should have that by Thursday or by Wednesday, Toya, keep me honest. By Wednesday. But we're north of 4 months. And I've always made that comment. It's going to feel different when inventory goes north of 4 months. I'm not saying we're in a buyer's market, and I'm not saying we're in a seller's market. We're probably pretty doggone close to a balanced market, even though historically 6 months is balanced.
Right.
um, it's going to feel like a balanced market. So, how do you talk about that, Toya?
I still feel like it's such a great opportunity for both buyers and sellers. And when you're in a balanced market, it doesn't feel like there's one person winning than the other because a lot of times our agents have imbalanced markets themselves. They either work with a lot more buyers than they do sellers, or they work with a lot more sellers. I just think it's an opportunity to be a win-win. It is going to say strong negotiations. So I think no matter where we are, in order to move the needle, so that the listings come off faster, that we get under contract faster, we have more active under contracts, we're going to have to use strong negotiation tactics on both sides.
Yep, for sure. Which is just skill set, right? Like we got to focus on the skill set. Well, let's keep going. So DeKalb County, we've got 764. Same story. Largest number of new listings coming on the market year to date. 114 went under contract. Anytime we're north of 100, 110 in DeKalb County, that's a lot of movement going on in that county. We did see 3 weeks over 100 in the middle of March. We saw 1 week in April, or maybe two last week as well. I'm expecting most weeks in May to be over 100, 110 in DeKalb County. So pay attention to that. We've got 178 pending after 168 closed out. So good indicators for the month of May. We still had looks like 180 properties in DeKalb County expire in the last 7 days, which end of month But, I'm going to go back to something while we're going through this, Toya.
Okay.
What do you think your typical real estate agent time period they put on a listing?
Oh, definitely 30 to 45 days. You
On a
mean,
listing agreement?
oh, on a listing agreement, their listings are
Yeah.
sitting 6 months.
Okay. Uh, do you think some were putting 3 months?
They may have been, but I think in today's moving market, I think we're seeing that agents are putting a little bit more because it is slower. It's taking longer for those things to move. And we're going to talk about some other reasons why it may be taking a little longer to move on the buy side when we get into insurance and things of that nature, some of the complications that they may be
Yeah.
seeing.
Well, here's the thing. If we have 4 months of inventory
Mhm.
and you take a 6 month listing, you might have uh, a 50% chance of selling that in 6 months.
Absolutely.
Could it be strategic to take longer listings right now?
I
100%.
absolutely would.
If you can get a 9 month listing, you can get a 1 year listing, you should absolutely take it. 4 months is the inventory right now. So 6 months is going to create, and I'm going to venture to say most real estate professionals are doing 6 month listing agreements, which is just going to attribute to that expired number going up in the future.
Yep, I would agree.
All right, Cobb County, 734, huge number for Cobb County of new listings coming on the market. Like drastically big. If you look back at December, it's almost double the amount of new listings coming on the market in Cobb County right now. Big number. 96 went under contract, which I mean, that's a little bit of a low number for Cobb County.
It is.
Um, I like seeing it over 100. It's kind of the same volume as like the Cab County. If you're over 100, you're over 110. We've got good amount of properties going under contract. But 96 is not bad. It's just it's a yellow sign if there's a color if it's underneath 100. 228 pending. They had 172 close out in the last 7 days. So if you look just kind of closings here, in March, 194, 151, 162, 126, 170. Then in April, 175, 182, 190, 140, 172. So you can see that April came in higher than March, and the anticipation is that May will be higher than April. So we'll
Mhm.
see. Obviously, it's early to predict, but the pending numbers look strong going into the month. And then there were 153 expireds in the last 7 days in Cobb County.
Yep,
Got it?
got it.
Any other thoughts on the numbers?
No, just that I would wait to see what the active under contract. I would be curious to see what that looks like in the
Yep.
coming months.
All right. Mortgage rate came in this morning at 6.9. That's higher than it was a week ago. Not a lot, but maybe a tenth of a point. So, I mean, seriously, if somebody said, I'm going to sit around and wait, it cost them a tenth of a point just in 1 week. I
Mhm.
don't expect it to move that much. We're expecting it to bounce around. But if somebody's locking at 6 3/4, 6.8, it's a pretty good rate.
And when you think about it in comparison to what people are renting for, that's 1647 a month. That's still good. Yeah, look at the payments. We need to be talking more payment affordability than interest rates.
Yeah. So I got wild predictions, Toya, and I'm
Uh-oh.
going to go there.
Go there.
So it was probably 18 months, maybe 2 years ago. We were at State of the Industry. I don't know if it was you or Mark or Matt or whoever was there, but um, I made the comment that because affordability is becoming such a challenge, I'm not sure the banks might not start coming out with 40-year mortgages.
Oh,
And I think we are going to, I still think you're going to start to see it, but I actually think what we're going to see is more, I don't want to call them B mortgages, but they're out of the box
Jay.
mortgages. Huh? Oh,
I
sorry.
think some just talk.
So I got and the reason I'm thinking about that, I got a text on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody has come out with a 40-year mortgage with the first 10 years interest only, but you have to put 20% down. And it's just a while, it's not about this specific loan product, it's about the concept of I think we're going to start to see more creative mortgage products in the near future. And I have mixed emotions about it. Like, my first thought was, well, how the heck does that even make sense? If you got to put 20% down, why do you care to have 10-year interest only and then move to a 30-year amortization after that? I couldn't get my head wrapped around who that would make sense for, but it's just the concept of, I think you're going to start to see more creative mortgage options here in the future.
I would agree. Kaylee just put in the chat that Supreme now has a 40-year mortgage. So
That,
your wild
that
and crazy predictions,
yes,
just be a
it's
reality.
not a 40, they're the 10-year interest with a 30-year amortization on the back end of it.
Gotcha.
Um, but needless to say, I don't want to support any one particular lender on this call, but
Mhm.
uh, it's just the fact that I think we're going to start seeing more creative stuff hit in the marketplace. All right, moving on. This is crazy. All
Yeah,
right, so
it's
let me
really crazy.
break this article down for you. So, in your membership to National Association of Realtors, you subscribe to what's called the Standard of Practice and the Code of Ethics that states it prohibits realtor members from using harassing speech, hate speech, epithets, or slurs based on protected classes of Article 10. Now, I want you to think of what you see when you scroll social media and what the interpretation of harassing speech or hate speech or epithets or slurs based on what people post on social media could be a slippery slope in terms of the standards of practice that the NAR holds realtor members to. Now, what this article is saying is the legislature in Texas is actually arguing that the NAR hate speech code of ethics violates the First Amendment, all this stuff, and that'll fall out in court. But the reason I wanted to bring this up was I think there's a couple different layers of opinions, and I want yours, Toya. I think there's my personal opinion, which says that social media is not a place for anything whatsoever that is divisive. And then my professional opinion is you don't know who follows you on social media. And from a professional business standpoint, you're probably harming yourself if you put anything that has any sense of divisive or hate speech or anything along those lines. Where this article is challenging the thought process is we know specifically what we think hate speech looks like, but I think a lot of the political stuff that goes online could be defined as such, which is just wild and crazy. I'm going to leave it there for now. And then there's the realtor standard or code of ethics, which says you subscribe to a membership that says you're not, that it's a violation of your license to do that. And then there's this legal interpretation, which is yet to be seen, right? But I just don't see why we have to talk about this, but I understand why we have to talk about this. Does that make sense?
It does. And I just think we're in a climate where everyone has an opinion. What I think is interesting about any of it is I always tell people, as real estate professionals, we all have worked for other organizations, worked in corporate. And I think the same rules apply in our professional business. Yes, we get to decide who we want to do business with, but I don't think we would want to alienate anyone or not do business.
No, I think it doesn't make any business sense.
Right, right, as a business. So I think we just have to separate the two. I thought this article was interesting because it talks about balancing the freedom of speech versus, what our standards are in terms of subscribing to a higher code of ethics. And I think you can do both. I just think that you have to realize who your audience is. And as you said, Brett, you don't know who's following you. So I just think it's a smart business move to maybe keep sometimes our personal separate from our professional if they're on the same platform. And even if they're not, people are still looking to see who they're doing business with.
Yeah. And, in the social media world specifically, they
Mhm.
don't tell you they're offended. They just stop following you
That's it.
and you'll
That,
never know.
you'll never know. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Anyway, I don't want to go too far, but I thought it was worthy of a mention because apparently NAR's hate speech is under attack in the legislation. Anyway, all right. Why is this window on my thing here?
We can see it fine.
Can you? I don't know if you can see the window. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, it says you better Google it, mastering your Google business profile.
Yes.
So here's what I thought about, and Toya, obviously I want your opinion, is if you're a professional in the real estate space, you better believe people are going to Google you. And you probably need to take time and make sure that your business profile is correctly set up. And where to start. We post this article. I would tell you to take the article and just kind of read through it. But I can tell you, and I was thinking about this as I was preparing for this, what percentage of the agent population is actually set up correctly in Google? I think is not very high.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of gives you a how to, but I just think like, man, if you're a professional, Google is certainly something that every professional business pays attention to. In
Mhm.
real estate, we don't do a great job of this, and we absolutely should.
I would agree. I think the other thing is one of the key points that came out of this article is not relying on your social media platform to take the place of your Google and SEO. Because when people are researching, they may not necessarily just go, they want to see, well, what else can I find out about them? So this kind of gives it a great opportunity for you to be able to publicize what you want people to see and make sure that your SEO is high ranking. That will also help your social media.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. I went to Nashville over the weekend, Toya, and I stayed in an Airbnb. And then I got back last night and we were preparing for the call this morning. And I saw this article. It says Airbnb touts resilience as guests spend $24 billion on travel in Q1.
Mhm.
And what made me think about this is short term rentals dead? I don't actually think so. And then I started thinking about, well, if I was a real estate professional today, and I had any element of my business that was investments, meaning people buy investment property through me, or I pitch investing in real estate seminars or anything along those lines, it would be extremely prudent for me to be up to date on where and the laws and what is even possible in terms of short-term rentals. And I think we all think that the legislation says you can't do it in most of the city, but I just simply did a quick Airbnb search for Atlanta, and there's quite a bit. Uh, and these short-term rentals are on here. Cottage in Atlanta for 2 nights, apartment, condo, tiny home in Atlanta. So nothing is not the right answer. I'm sure there's different legislation and different subdivisions, but like as I started looking around the city, like if I go up to Vinings, I don't see anything. If I go up to, can't seem to get my stuff follow. There's stuff in Marietta. There's stuff in um, uh, Smyrna.
Yeah.
There's stuff on the west side.
Mhm.
So I just thought, man, would it not be wise to at least educate myself on what short-term rental is and is not allowed around me, to where if I had an investment uh, arm to my real estate business, I could talk educated around it. What do you think? Am I crazy?
No, I think this is spot on. There is now in some cities, and I think the key word is educate because there
Yeah.
are some municipalities that will not, like, for example, the city of College Park. We always get calls, especially if there is another office. They think that it's our office listing an Airbnb because they don't do that. But there's so many areas
Yeah.
that
See?
do. I also think it's a great opportunity to be able to talk to your clients about the potential to get Airbnbs as those income producing properties. And more importantly, it's important for us. What are we looking at in order to build our portfolio? So you can't go wrong with this. I was amazed by the numbers because you're right, Brett. It's huge. When we think about going, I'd much rather stay in an Airbnb than a hotel just because I have so many other amenities and things that I can do. I like to cook, so if I want to cook a great healthy meal, I can do that.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's such a a big part of investment real estate.
Absolutely.
And I think in my head, and I think a lot of agents' head, it's just not an option because of we read one article about a city shutting it down, but that doesn't mean everywhere in the city it's shut down. We just need to spend a little time researching it because it could be a gold mine for you and your real estate business if you have investors that want to play this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Last article was a herky jerky start to the spring buyer season isn't deterring agents, which I'm encouraged by. Um, Economic anxiety and rising mortgage rates curbed hopes of a robust spring market, but economists tell Inman a new home market offers sliver of hope. I agree with this. It's just backing up my statement around the fact that the first quarter was a little bit of a bust,
Right.
yet we'll get there, right?
Yeah, this was a very long article, but it was so insightful. I think it was promising because first quarter, a lot, many of our agents experience, what's happening. It's a very slow start. Then all of a sudden it just, we had that uptick in April. So I think we may see the ebbs and flows happening, but I would just say stay consistent and hang tight.
Yeah.
Got to stay on top of the lead gen for sure.
All right. Last article. This is wild to me.
Yes.
So Atlanta Beltline seeks housing developer for major West Side project. So let me go down and find the map. So
Yep.
basically, the city has gone in and plotted and planned an entire development, and now they're pitching it to a developer to develop it.
That was
However, they put restrictions on it.
Mhm.
And the restrictions say, where is it? Of course, I can't find it. Yeah, they want the homes to range from 232,000 to 348,000. They want the maximum sales price to be set at 400,000. So basically, they've gone and taken a plot of land off the Beltline and on the west side and went ahead and plotted it out and now are pitching it to developers to build affordable housing. I think that's kind of cool, one, and two, maybe a little unprecedented. What do you think when you read this?
Yeah, it reverse order. Typically, they are saying you bring what your plans are. They've actually built out the plans, but I think it's huge. It's a huge opportunity for someone who wants to come in, be innovative. They're looking for developers, and I think this is where we actually really get it. Going to a lot of these city council meetings, and especially for people who are up north, there are so many developers looking for opportunities. This could be a great way for you to get in and maybe make those connections.
Yeah. And as always, we post all the articles in Circle. So let me know if you need more information. Would love for our agents to bring the developer and do this project. That would be amazing.
That would be. All
All
right, so
right, Toya, you get the final word outside of
Wednesday,
reminder Wednesday 1 to 3.
right. That's it. Wednesday, 1 to 3. Happy selling. Use this day to make some great connections. There are going to be a lot of people who are out celebrating today. And so hopefully use that as a lead gen opportunity to be able to get some buyers and sellers and just get into conversations with people. Um, May is optimistic. So we're going right into peak season. So I would say happy selling.
There you go. Have a good Monday.
All right. Bye.
Bye.